It Hot is presented by Botano. The game starts now. Here are your hosts, Brent Wallace, Jason York, and Bobby Ryan.
Happy Monday, everybody. Welcome to Coming in Hot. Brent Wallace alongside Jason York and the jolly old elf himself, Bobby Ryan.
Good morning.
Morning, fellas.
Bob, I'm glad to see you back after your weekend. I hope you had a great Thanksgiving.
We did. Thank you.
Very nice. Sens back in action. We do have Dennis Bonvie waiting in the wings to come on and have a chat with us. He is pro hockey's all-time penalty minutes leader, which is a feat all into itself. I don't even begin to fathom how you can rack up 4,800 penalty minutes, but we'll get to that.
It's impressive.
Those are the ones you want to avoid on the ice at all times, I'm assuming, gentlemen.
Yep.
Oh boy, I just want to
change for me.
Hey, and those years that Dennis played, they call those dog years. Those count as six. Like those are grindy years. Actually, when you had to fight legit heavyweights, so those are well earned. Those are well earned penalty minutes, I can tell you.
Yeah, we'll get to those in a sec because there's a couple games. Anyway, we'll dig into that in a sec. This show is always brought to you by Botano. Go to botano.ca, download the award-winning app. They are the EGR 2023 winner for both Best Sportsbook Operator of the Year and Best In-Play Sports Operator. Visit botano.ca. The fastest, most user-friendly and advanced betting app for your mobile or tablet. Hundreds of betting options for all things hockey, including tonight's game against the Florida Panthers and Ottawa Senators. We'll get to that later in the show as I continue to dominate the lock of the day. Also by Sober Carpenter. Real craft beer, no alcohol. Hold the alcohol, keep the flavor, only 55, 60 calories per can. Enjoy a range of non-alcoholic beers so good that you won't have to compromise on taste. If you also want a healthier lifestyle, enjoy a wide selection of beers, including Blonde Ale, West Coast IPA, or Irish Red, to name a few. Look for them at Sobeys, Loblaws, Whole Foods, Metro, Farm Boy, and other retailers. Look, this is the season. People want to go out and enjoy. If you don't want to have the alcohol, but enjoy the taste, grab a Sober Carpenter at sobercarpenter.com. They are award-winning beers so good you'll forget they're non-alcoholic. And Bob, by BEI.
Thank you to our good friends over BEI. Excuse me 1 second. I was not quite ready. Heavy civil general contractor here in the public and private sectors. BEI has been helping shape the Ottawa Valley. Visit them at bonasherexcavating.com or give them a call at 613-432-1120 for all things equipment rentals, aggregate, and topsoil sales, hauling, floating, and concrete formwork. They move stuff. So when planning your next project, consider BEI for your aggregate supply needs.
Hey, listen, when the coach calls your name, you got to be ready to jump over the boards.
Get out there.
That's fair. I told you guys twice this. There's somebody just taking pictures of the house. I know he's a worker and I know he works for them, but I don't know what's going on. And I'm following him around through all the windows trying to, So
you think they work for the club. It might be Randy Carlisle.
Hey, the house is sold, so I don't know what's going on.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, congrats.
Yeah. So this guy had nothing to do with it, but it's sold.
So is Cody Bass going to have a good Christmas?
Basser is going to have a nice Christmas. Well, yeah. He was already having one for the other house, so he's good.
Good stuff. We'll have to have him on here at some point and discuss what it's like to be your real estate agent, let alone teammate. So, well, without further ado, I'll stop wasting his time because I know he's busy. He is the director of pro scouting for the Ottawa Senators, for the Boston Bruins. He is a legend all into himself from the East Coast, but doesn't live there anymore at the moment. Dennis Bonvie, the tough guy. Bonzai, welcome to the show, sir.
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
How are things? You're in the U.S. as well, so you just had American Thanksgiving yourself.
Yeah, I live in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. That's where I finished up in Pittsburgh's farm team, and real good spot to work out of. Geographical area. I can get to a lot of places pretty quick, driving and flying. So I work out of here. I've been working out of here since I think 2008, so since I retired, and it's been great. I've been really fortunate.
Little known fact: Sidney Crosby scored his first preseason goal of his NHL career in Scranton, Wilkes-Barre.
Yep. And he scored his first exhibition. He scored a goal in Halifax in his first exhibition game, and I believe Steve Dixon and I both from Nova Scotia assisted on it.
Oh,
There's a beauty
Steven
right
Dixon
there.
was telling me that the other day. I don't know. I think I was around the puck somewhere. I can't believe I was close to it, but probably
In one of
dumped
those
it
stat sheets that won't exist
in. I
anywhere.
probably
because
dumped it in and hit something and ricocheted.
Bonzai, what's your connection to Wally? Like, how did he? Like, come on, how is he pulling strings to get you on the show? What's it here?
I knew Wally way back from when I played in Ottawa days. I guess Wally, right? So
yeah.
Interviewed me a few times. I don't know. I was probably getting sent down. Like I said, I had a lot of up and down seasons. Up for training camp, down for the season.
Listen. You were always so good to me. But we've always chatted over the years because you've been in the press box now doing scouting, and we'll get into that later about how you turned into a scout. But first, you know what? We have some trivia notes for you, and I'm going to get to them right now because some of them are pretty interesting. But let's start. We've named you our DoorDash Hot Performer. And this show proudly presented by DoorDash. Just go to the there we go. Did you know there are only 40 no, my God, there's like 30 shopping days left. It's a month to go. Yeah. Make gift shopping fun again with DoorDash. Shop for everyone on your list. All kinds of stuff. Just open up the app, order with DoorDash, choose what you want from where you want. Use Double Dash on DoorDash, multiple restaurants, stores, same delivery without additional fees. So everyone can get what they want when they need. For a limited time, our listeners get 25% off and zero delivery fees on their first order of $15 or more when you download the DoorDash app and enter code NATION25. That's 25% off, $10 value, zero delivery fees. Download the DoorDash app and use code NATION25. Don't forget code NATION25, 25% off. Offer valid in Canada, subject to change, terms apply. Okay, so Bonzai, in 1995, you were added to the Canadian All-Star team for the AHL's first All-Star game in 36 years. Not known as an offensive skill set, you did, however, score the first goal in the event's modern history.
Yeah, easy on the skill set part, will you?
Huh? Well, there are other things that you're more known for. That was all I was getting to.
Yeah, it happened. It was a fan and vote type thing, and we were in Cape Breton at the time, in Edmonds farm team, and Todd Marchand was the first in line. I was second in voting, and the lockout ended and he got recalled. So they had to select me. So I think they kind of panicked when they did. They're like, oh my God, this guy's getting selected. So they added Ralph Intranuvo to come with me, to represent us. So it was in Providence, and I was breaking down the wing on a line change, and I got a puck and kind of just went to backhand 5-hole on Scott Bailey. And I was kind of in shock. I was like, oh, I scored. Great. Super. Came to the bench, and they're like, we want your stick and your gloves. It's going to Hall of Fame. And I'm like, no. It's going where? They're like, oh, we're going to take the Hall of Fame. I said, you can take my gear. I'm like, I'm done for the night. It's over.
That's so good.
Yeah. So I have just fortunate timing, got the pass at the right time down the wing, and whatever. I got it in, but it's quite a thrill, obviously.
Yeah. Do you still have it there?
I think they still have it there. It's probably way back, it's collecting dust in the back somewhere, but it was actually interesting in the game because obviously I was lucky enough to be there. It's all top end all-star players, and probably about 3 shifts in, I started playing physical. I ran a couple of guys because in my head I'm like, I'm doing something that's going to get me noticed, whatever it is. If nobody wants to fight me, then I'm going to. So I started running guys, and they're like saying it was the best all-star game ever because guys started running around and playing with a little bit of passion and energy. So, hey, you got to get yourself noticed somehow, I guess.
Yeah, I think that tracks because the only All-Star game I played in the American League was in Binghamton, and I think they wanted the game to end more than the players did. It was so bad. The first shift, they were like, "You guys need to pick up the pace," and I was like, "No, we can't."
Yeah. So I ran a couple of guys, and guys got a little bit steamed and started running around. So we got a little entertainment out of it anyway at the end.
I like it.
That's so good.
I like it.
I appreciate
we missed each other in the OHL. I'm just checking your stats here. I didn't know you played for Bert Templeton and for North Bay. And
I was drafted by Kitchener. I had a bad midget year, and a guy named Steve Kroll lives in Dartmouth still. I knew he'd wanted me to play for his team that year, and then he said he worked for Kitchener, and he called me before he was going to the draft on like a Monday. He said, "I'm going up. I'm going to get you drafted somehow." So I ended up going 19th round, 277th overall. I think the janitor called my name out, but he called me and he said, we got you drafted, so get ready to come in, middle of August or whatever. I said, awesome. So I trained as hard as I could. And my dad, who's never really at that time probably been on Nova Scotia, flies up with me to Toronto. We go to Kitchener in a van and go to the rink the day before. I'm all excited watching. I go back to the hotel with him and he goes, this might be too much for you, son. Maybe we should just go home. I'm like, I'm not going home, Dad. I'm going to be the toughest guy in camp. I guarantee you that. Oh. This is my way in. And I stuck around for probably a month and a half. I went back and played junior A, went back again the next year, did the same thing again, played a few games maybe. And I was playing North Bay on a Saturday night. I think I went and challenged their bench and tried to get something going. And Bert was in the middle of a big deal. Jamie Miller, I think it was Jamie Miller and Jamie Caruso. There was a bunch of guys going back and forth. And he added me in the deal. It was a 3-for-3 deal. He told Joe McDonnell, if you add this kid in, this Maritimer, like, we'll do the deal. And Joe's like, what? This guy? And he put me in the deal. And I called my dad after on a Sunday. I said, I'm going to North Bay. He goes, just come home. That's enough. Like, just come home. What are you doing? I said, no, I'm going to go to North Bay. I'm going to see what's going on up there. Then I went up. I traveled up with Jack Williams, and I'm in the office, and he goes, you don't come with high credentials, kids, but I like tough Maritimers, and you fit the bill. I said, well, I'm going to be the toughest guy in this league if you give me a chance. Just give me a chance. Hang around. I'll work with a figure skater and work on my edges and work on my game. I promise you I need to work on it, but I'll fight anybody anytime. And that was my way in. And I wasn't trying to be barbaric, but that was my way in.
Absolutely.
He said, you got to do something better than everybody else. And I knew that I could hang in that way. I knew I could hang around that way. So
I heard you were doing 3 plates on each side of bench press at camp at like 17 or whatever.
I'm not doing it now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I worked out a lot. Yeah, I was training all the time. That's what I did. Obviously when you're training, somebody's got a strong point with your arms or your legs. I was always strong in the chest, and I could bench. My buddies and I back home always pumped the weights and did that stuff. That's what we did at home. So I was pretty strong. I don't know how much it was at the time. Probably it was a pretty good number
though. Okay, so we'll get to the fighting, but in order to do that, I need to explain to people your hockey career. So we're just going to do the Did You Know part of the day, which is brought to you by Wendy's. Wendy's letting you real food in your fantasy teams this year. Win the daily face-off survivor pool. Wendy's rewarding you with weekly prizes. Download the Wendy's app and score yourself 150 bonus reward points on your first order, and grab the sweet victory of mouthwatering jaws of defeat with some fresh, never frozen beef. Get in. Get the wins, score yourself up to 1,300 bonus points if you win the week, and grab your favorite menu items at Wendy's. Download the Wendy's app and the Wendy Daily Face-Off Survivor Pool at dailyfaceoff.com. Weekly prizes, including the spicy chicken sandwich. Wendy's, we keep it fresh. So, in 871 AHL games, you tallied 4,493 penalty minutes, which is 1,553 more than second place Rob Murray on the all-time list, who played in, I think, 150 more games or whatever. In 1997, you set the single-season record for PIMS with 522. It would stand for 8 seasons until you decided to teach Brian McGrattan some stuff, and he would rack up 551, the former Binghamton Senator. You fought a lot, and you did it all the way up until, 37 or whatever it is, 36 years old. How did you continue to do that night in, night out? And in the A, I'm going to guess you had more than one fight in a few of those games.
Yeah, it was funny going back to McGrattan, breaking my record. He would call me the last 20 games into the year. He goes, after every game, Bonds, I'm going to beat your record. I'm going to beat your record. And he wasn't even fighting. He was just getting tens at the end. I don't know what he was. He's like, I'm going to beat your record. You know what his Gratz is like. He's a funny guy. Good friend of mine. But I try to explain, and it's mind-boggling when I think about it now. But when I got in, I was trying to gain respect. I wasn't the biggest guy. I was just barely 6 feet, if that, and strong. But you're trying to prove you belong. You're trying to prove that you can, get respect from the big boys. And I was in the American League. I did the same in junior, but in the American League. And then, you do that, and then you try to gain respect to get an opportunity to play in the National Hockey League in one more game, or some type of career in the National Hockey League. And when you go up, you do it again. And then you get sent down, and you're kind of ticked off about it. So you're kind of like, I got to prove to everybody else that I shouldn't have been sent down. And then, at most of those times coming on after probably 5 years, I was on 1 year deals every year, 1 year deal. So I had to prove myself or they would get somebody else. So it was like a vicious circle, honestly, for me. And that's the way I thought about it. I'm like, I have to, I got a wife and kids. I got a family. I got to provide. If not, I'll be out and I'll get somebody cheaper. And I guess I kind of understood that. So I did the best veteran I could and did the best I could. But that's just kind of the way it went. And, and I became a fan favorite in a few places. And when you do that, you don't want to disappoint. You don't want to not do it. And then, fans and people are like, what's wrong with this guy? How come he's not doing it? He doesn't come as advertised. So like I said, it was a vicious circle. It was a lot of fun doing it, but at the end, you're like, I'm pretty well petered out. That's enough, but at the end of the day, I played a lot too, for the most part. I played with a bad knee my last probably 7 years of my career. And I was, like I said, I was on 1 year deal. So if I fixed my knee, I was done. I knew I was done. They were, putting new ACL in in an old Clydesdale. They're putting them out to pasture, right? That's what will happen, literally. So I kept playing on a bad knee, and I know I could hang around. And that's basically what I did.
Yeah. Hey, Bonzai, how are the mitts now? Like a lot of guys I played with from our era. Like I remember like Jim Cummings. I don't know if you know.
Yeah, I know Jim.
He almost died once. He had a scrap in Adirondack, punched a guy in the tooth, ended up in the hospital for about 3 weeks. People have no idea. Like when you punch a guy in the mouth, how much risk there is when you're fighting that much. So how'd your hands?
I thought you probably got an email, York. I thought you got an email or someone called me sausage fingers, but
look at those babies, eh?
I broke everything I own. You know what I mean?
They look like Bobbies.
A lot of times I don't want to say it. I don't act. I have fought with broken hand or whatever because team needed me or I needed to do it or I was at the end of the my contract with the 2 weeks left, whatever it was. So you just kind of do it. I can't explain why. Doing it again, I kind of scratched my head. I don't know if I could ever do it again. What I did, but I did it.
Oh, we got to get a review. Put those mitts up again. Like people have no idea.
But the games.
Can you tell I was a righty?
Yeah. The games changed so much. Nobody's gonna ever have to do it. I was thinking back to when I played, and I don't know if we actually crossed paths.
I don't think we did, Bobby.
Yeah, because I came in. I did a couple of the playoff runs in like 05, 06 with Portland.
Yes,
I want to say that
we did in Portland in the wish we did.
And I've thought that maybe you were in Wilkes-Barre my last year.
When you were going up the middle with the puck, I was up in the stands watching you.
Yeah, but we had a good team. We had Eric Weinrich and those guys. Sure. We had a real fun team. But I remember getting into that league, and this is like I think I saw kind of the beginning of the end in that league where we were dressing Trevor Gillies and Mike Hoffman as flanks on the wings for the fourth line because the next team was dressing yourself and somebody else. It was just a different time. So the game's changed so much. I think that there's a bit of a dying breed mentality amongst you guys that play the game a lot differently than the young guys that respect to the young guys that do throw it around now, but it's just not 100%. The same. It's not
the way it is. That's
I remember a fight. Trevor Gillies fought Frankie Lassard at center ice. Well, there's 25 of us on the ice. It was my third game in the league, and he got suspended for giving the birds on his way off. And I was there's something different about this league.
I used to jump on the ice. There might be a young kid beside me, and I just pat him on the head. I said, "You enjoy this. Take your time and get some popcorn for this one." They're like, "What? What are you talking about?" Looking around, and I was like, "Oh, I know what he's talking about."
That's it. We actually had the refs and the coaches on the ice trying to break people up, and he came over and he found me and Bobby Sang and Eddie tying up, and he goes, you guys are okay, whatever." And I said, we're gonna meet each other's weddings. We're pretty good buddies. We're not fighting.
At that time in the middle, I guess like when I started my career in Cape Breton, I think I always say the story. I think we had 6 guys that fought Bob Probert in his heyday, God rest his soul, and I wasn't one of them yet. Like we were a tough team. We had Link Gates, we had Serge Roberge, we had Scott Thornton, Louis DeBrus, Gordy Mark, Jeff Chikrin, myself. Like we couldn't handle the puck and the other team didn't want it. It was a bad game, man. It was a bad game. But and then the next year it was just me in Cape Breton. We kind of got all those guys moved on, and then every other team had 3 or 4 tough guys. So you always had your hands full every night. And then you continue doing it, and then you get into I started when I came to Wilkes-Barre, I was playing against the Phantoms, and they always had 5 or 6 guys. Hershey had a bunch of guys. Like Bobby said, there was always 3 or 4 heavyweights chewing on the end of their stick, ready to get at you, And So you had to do it. It didn't bother me. I was lucky enough. My personality, I guess. I was telling you yesterday, Brent. I just did it. Didn't bother me. I could sleep in the day. And in my career, I'd be up with the wife and kids, playing with the kids before I go to the rink. I knew I was going to do it. I just did it and get it over with, right? And I know that sounds kind of foolish and probably barbaric, but that was my personality.
But that's the reality. Yeah.
Oh.
So you talked about Bob Probert on September 17th, 1995. During your first preseason game with Edmonton, you did play the year before. You got called up for a couple games. We'll get to that in a sec. You dropped the gloves with one Bob Probert. Did you ask him? How did that go?
I remember in the summer I was training. I was hitting the heavy bag and speed bag in my garage because I lived about 25 minutes outside Antigonish in the country. And Frankville, Nova Scotia. Yeah, town of 75 people. And I always say it's the Twin Cities, Harvard-Bushy and Frankville. It's like Minneapolis, St. Paul, just a little smaller. And I was training, and my dad would always come home at 4:30. He worked at a pulp and paper plant, and I go, Dad, the hockey news came out today, and Edmonton's playing Chicago. And my dad was like, what are you talking about? I said, if that Bob Probert plays, I'm going to fight him. And Dad just turned around. He went in. He goes, supper's in 10 minutes, son. See you later. And he was like, I have no idea what you're talking about. So I trained, and I was went to camp, and a good friend of mine, Jason Fitzsimmons, who works for Washington now, was in the cab with me going to the rink, and he goes, hey, Bonds. I said, yeah. I was just looking out the window. He said, that Bob Probert, he's playing tonight. Are you going to fight him? I said, absolutely, first shift, guaranteed. And he looked at me, really? I'm like, yep. This is my only chance maybe ever, so I have to make the most of it. And I just went out and I said, you're either going to make me or break me, Probes. He goes, what'd you say? I said, you're either going to make me or break me. I'm either going to be around for another shift or you'll never see me again, one or the other. Like, so, and we ended up fighting, and then we fought a couple weeks later in Edmonton. So, and then I played with him after that in Chicago, and he was, what a teammate, what a great guy. Mm-hmm. God rest his soul. He was terrific person. He really was. He was great to me, taught me a lot of things. And it was a great time playing for him in Chicago.
So is there, who's the best friend you've ever had to go against?
The best friend? Probably Gratz.
Did you have any?
I guess, no, they were all friends, really. There was a couple of guys I really don't like. That's like anything. I guess, Yorkie and Bobby, you can say the same thing. There's most guys are really good. There's a few guys you'd rather keep arm's length or more away. Yeah. And there was a few of those tough guys, but they were all pretty good buddies of mine. Really, you do your thing, and if you had a beer after or saw him somewhere a couple months later, you just kind of laugh and giggle about it. But probably Gratz, I guess.
So the year with the picture we have and him playing in Binghamton, because he didn't play there for a long time, did you help him set the penalty minute record to beat you?
No, I helped him the year before. I think he'd come in and he didn't do well in his first few fights. He was, and I kind of talked to him. I said, do you really want to do this? And he goes, yeah, I want to do it. I just, I got to get better at it. I said, well, then I'll help you with it. I'll teach you to protect yourself and how to fight to your strengths. And we became pretty good buddies, just trying to take care of him a little bit. And he, he soared. We went and, he had his really good run in the National Hockey League a couple times. So, and he's as tough as they come. Yeah, he's tough as they come. So you just kind of teach him a few tips to kind of keep his, and at the end, he didn't keep his head or his chin in. He was still firing away, but you just teach him to fight to his strengths a little bit. And then I end up scrapping with him because I got traded to Colorado and I was in Hershey. And they were I always say the story, they were in Norfolk on a Wednesday and a Friday, and then catching us on the way back through in Hershey. So I saw him in the hallway and we talked about it. And we were like, just not about hockey, not about anything. We're laughing and giggling. I give him a hug, give me a kiss. Thanks, buddy. I appreciate everything you've done for me. And then first shift, he's like, you want to fight? I'm like, I want to fight. Why didn't you ask me that like a half hour ago? So I'd be ready for it. So I said, yeah, I'll fight. So I actually did well. I cracked him a couple good ones. And it was a good fight. They're all good fights. Somebody wins, somebody loses. It doesn't matter. But I go to him after the game. I go, what are you doing? Why would you come and ask me to fight? He goes, because Coach Paddock came in. He goes, he's not your damn friend, Gratz. What are you gonna do against him? You got to give him shit, I think. And so Gratz said, I kind of had to come out and do something. I wasn't going to go up and pat you on the shin pad. So I said, oh, okay, I understand now.
Oh, incredible.
That's people have no idea. Like
and then we fought the second time, and he kind of nibbled on my ear, and he goes, I love you, man. You're the best guy. No problem. Let me go fix myself up here.
Bonzai, you know Denny VL, right?
Yeah. That was down in
So
Nova Scotia.
I'm playing with Danny Viel in Adirondack. Before the game, we're playing in Binghamton. He's talking with this guy, Peter Fiorentino. They're laughing, having a great time. Big hug. They're both from Sault Ste. Marie. First shift, gloves go flying in the air. The two of them just start. I'm like, what the hell's going on here? Like,
It's
just
amazing.
totally different era when it was just, hey, it was just part of it, right?
It was. And then probably after they went out and had a couple beers and had a lot of fun together. I don't know. And sometimes it happens, sometimes not even pre-planned. You like most times it's not. You end up going out a couple shifts, you bang into somebody, he runs somebody over, you can't do that. And
Yep.
the rest is history. So that happened a lot. You talk to him and warm up, nothing's happening. 2 shifts in, lots happening.
The
So good.
just back to Brian McGrattan for one last second. He sent out a tweet, I think when you announced your retirement, and he said, when we look back on our career, there's always people that helped you get to the highest level. I had no idea how to fight, but at 27, Bonzai coached me every step of the way. In my mind, he's one of the all-time greats. I owe my entire NHL career to him. Is that pretty much all you could ask for?
Well, yeah, it is kind of giving me a tear to my eye, really, at the end of the day. But Coach told me at the end, if at the end of the day, when you're done, you're retired, and your teammates say that you were a hell of a teammate, then you've done a pretty good job. And that's what I tried to do. I know I'm not everybody's cup of tea. I get it. I try to be the best person I can be, the best husband I can be, the best father, the whole bit, and have guys over for supper and take care of them and do all that stuff that needs to be done as a veteran and a person, and and help them out. I knew where I was at in my career. I knew I was trying to struggle for another game in the National Hockey League. I knew I was more of a minor leaguer than, but at the end of the day, there's a role there too, right? And I accepted it, and I did it, and I had some really good veterans around me that helped me with that along the way. So that's what you do. You just try to help people out and make sure that it's nice when you see guys go play in the National Hockey League or go and have success, and you got a little bit to do with it. Maybe a little bit, maybe a lot, maybe, and that's how I thought of, myself. And I told that to other veterans, if you can help guys out and you can see them going and doing really well, that's a feather in your cap, really, at the end of the day, that you've done a good job.
Yeah, absolutely.
It should be pointed out, and I completely apologize for this, Dennis. At the beginning, I meant to say you were about to be inducted in the American Hockey League Hall of Fame this coming February. So congratulations. What is your reaction to knowing, hey, somebody who's not known for scoring 50 goals a season is being recognized as being a Hall of Fame player?
Well, it's nice. And if you ask Scott Housen this, he would actually tell you, and you'd laugh, because he called me. I was coming off the golf course on my way to a hockey game, Scotia game in Philly, I think. And I saw his number on my phone, and I'm like, oh God, what did I do now? Did I do something? I had to backtrack. I must have did something, or went after, said something to a ref, or did something. And then I called him back, and he goes, I got good news for you. And he told me, and I kind of just clammed up. I was in tears. I didn't know what to say, right? Because when you're recognized amongst your peers and amongst what you did the last how many years, it's pretty nice. And I just said thanks. I was choked up, and I ended up calling him back and said, listen, I really apologize. And he's laughing. I said, I didn't mean to kind of break down, but like when you work towards something, you work towards a goal and give it everything you got, to be recognized in that light it's pretty nice. It's pretty nice.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
should we see more people in the National Hockey League? In the Hall of Fame, like Bob Probert and all of these types of guys who, let's be honest, they did define a position.
Well, I believe so, because I did it. I know what guys go through. I know, you got to have, the good Lord upstairs helping you with health and longevity. But when you do it and you give it all you got, like, you're as big a part of the team as the next guy, and the teammates will tell you that, and they'll say that. So I would love to see it. But I don't know what the way the game is going now. I know they've kind of taken a little bit of that out of it, but I still think it's a part of it. The ebb and flow of the game. Sometimes there's certain ways to get you back on top, and maybe it's a little bit of, getting on the forecheck, run the guy over, enthusiasm, and guys get a little bit ticked off, and maybe they need a little bit more of that. I don't know. Some games are good, but there's not a lot going on a lot of nights, right? But who knows? That's the way the game is.
When you become GM, you can bring this up at the GM meetings, okay?
Yeah, okay. We'll see.
I got a couple of games to ask you about. Your first NHL game is April 1995, Edmonton versus LA. At the time, Wayne Gretzky is on the LA Kings. Did you take any shifts with Wayne Gretzky?
I don't. Did you hear this story? Did I tell you the story?
No.
So I was up.
By the way, movie star looks in your first couple of years here.
Yeah. I wish that those were the days right there. I was in Cape Breton, and for some reason, the AHL season finished, and it was like 3 weeks left in the NHL season. So I think 4 or 5 of us got called up. So I was going as the extra guy going into warm up for like 3 or 4 warm-ups in a row. So I'm thinking I'm not playing, do my thing during the day, hang out, do whatever, go to warm up. Life is great. I'm in the National Hockey League. You know, I want to play, but I understand I'm an extra. He comes in after warm up playing LA, and Ronnie Lowe goes, "Hey kid, you're in. Jason Arnett's sick." And I'm like, "I'm in. I'm playing." So I go, "Oh my God Almighty!" So I go out. Barry Melrose is the coach. Obviously, Wayne Gretzky, LA Kings, and Matty Johnson's on the wing. And Matty Johnson and I scrapped a lot in Peterborough. I was in North Bay, and we scrapped a lot. So I said, I might as well go to what I know best to start it off. So I go on the draw, and I go, "Matty, you want to go?" And he goes, "No, I can't, because the coach won't let me." I looked over, and Barry Melrose was like, "No, this is not happening." I said, "Okay." So the puck in the neutral zone goes back, D to D, dumped it in. Well, their fourth line goes off, and their first line comes on. So who comes on? We're cycling the puck. I get the puck. I go to dump it in. There's Wayne Gretzky right beside me. So I just kind of dumped the puck in the corner, and I leave the ice. And like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "That's Wayne Gretzky. I'm not supposed to be playing against Wayne Gretzky. I'm supposed to be playing against Matt Johnson." So anyway, that was my first shift. Anyway, so I was, I got a few more after that, but they were like, "Oh my God, what's up with this guy?" I'm like, "I don't know. It wasn't supposed to be Wayne Gretzky. I know that." My first shift. Yeah.
Did you ever think to hit him?
Oh, I might have bumped him nothing hard though. I don't think so. I need a little more experience and a little more savvy to run him. I think he'd elude me pretty quick and give me a dash in my plus minus category.
But Bonzai, it's kind of weird playing against him, because I played against him for a long time, and he just had that aura where, should I touch this guy? Because he's kind of done so much for the game. Maybe I'll just kind of give him a nice little. It's like a hit, but not really. But everybody in the league kind of knew that, hey, you're not really supposed to hit this guy.
Well, it's called respect. You know what I mean? I wasn't going to do that. I wasn't going to run anybody. I'd run, a mucker, a grinder, or a tough guy for sure, or maybe a 6 or 7 defenseman. But the Stars, I kind of, I got to get my feet underneath me a little bit and get some experience before I start doing that.
So let's skip ahead to your first NHL fight, which is opening night, if I'm not mistaken. In 1995, October the 8th, you fight the Grim Reaper, Stu Grimson.
Yeah.
That's not bad. That's not a bad fight card.
No, I end up we're on the draw, and it's Stu, who's a friend of mine now, and only my mother calls me Dennis for the most part. So I go on the draw. I said, "Stu," I said, "Grimmer, you want to fight?" He says, "Okay, Dennis." I'm like, "Oh God, that's scary." "Okay, Dennis." I'm like, "Oh God." So we drop, and Randy Mitten's the linesman, and he loves to break fights up before they start, right? So he's in between us, right? So he's trying to get in between us. And Stu with them long arms grabs me and hits me with about 4 in the side of the head. I'm like, "Oh boy, that's going to leave a mark. I can feel them." So I ended up getting the linesman out of there, and I threw a couple. I hit him with a couple good ones. It was a good fight. It was fine. And that was it. So I was kind of the box. I went to box. I'm like, I'm going to feel those, but I survive. I can hang around a little bit longer. So
good.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite fight?
Probably Proby. I think Bobby Probert, God rest his soul. He was the guy. I know he was coming back from, getting on the, downside of his career, but he was the guy. But I ended up fighting Ty, and I fought lots of guys. Tony Twist, I think I had 3 with, but they're all tough, and I'm just trying to gain respect, just trying to prove that I can belong, I can hang around. Really, I wasn't the toughest guy, but I think I was somewhat fearless. I think, for lack of a better term, and I do it because I had to do it, and I knew I had to do it. And I just, like I said, I proved I could belong there. I wasn't the biggest guy. I wasn't the best player, but I could hang around.
You three against Twister. Like, Twister, for our younger people that are listening here and watching, like, that guy was an absolute beast Bonzai. Like he was
Yeah.
probably pushing about 250 at the time.
Yeah,
right?
he was a big, strong man. You had to be careful with him, but I did. I kept him out. I got my licks in here and there, and but he was tough. He was strong.
There's a video of you fighting Tony Twist, and the thing I noticed about it, the tie down is on, but it looks like his collar is about 4 sizes too big because as you grab it, it comes all the way, like his entire body's exposed.
Yeah, probably. It could have been ripped. It could have been. They sometimes would, cut. I don't know. They might cut them. Whatever.
If he altered it a little, yeah.
Yeah, they did alter it the way they wanted to alter it. I'm sure. I didn't do that. I tried a couple times and I didn't like it. I just felt like I was swimming, so I just went with a regular one and did my thing. But some guys like that.
You fought Bob Probert, by the way, with him wearing number 95, which should be a trivia question if you ever go somewhere. Because that's when he switched his number to 95. He's like, I'm switching it back. There's a couple times in the National Hockey League, I think twice, you fought twice in the same game, which is all into itself is a feat. But I'm curious about Sean Brown. Your last 2 NHL fights are against the same guy, 8 days apart. The 2 of you were teammates in Boston at one point and were teammates in Cape Breton, Edmonton. Was there anything behind you fighting Sean Brown?
Not a little bit. Nothing. Brown, he's a good friend of mine. I played with him in Hamilton when he was there when he first started, so I kind of helped him bring him along. Real good kid. Had some talent. And came to Boston, and we actually hung out. We were line mates, teammates. He stayed there. I left. Maybe that was it. I don't know if he took my job, but he was one of the guys I left. And I don't know how much toughness Boston had at the time or not. So maybe he was the guy that I said, well, maybe I should just do it and get it over with type of thing. There's no animosity though. No, nothing.
Your last NHL fights are in an Ottawa Senator uniform.
Yep.
Correct. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm looking up videos and fights, and it seems like you don't ever have a fight that lasts like 15, 20, 30 seconds. They're all like 2.5 minutes. And I'm like, the Ryan Vandenbosch fight is like 2:20 or something. It's the longest fight in Wilkes-Barre Scranton history. I'm like, give it up. Like, how exhausted are you by the end of this?
I tried to a few times. I asked him, I'm like, hey, we done? We'd fought him 2 weeks before that. It was in Hershey. It was after the second period. We were down 2-1, and I kind of at the back behind the draw, I said, do you want to go, Bush? He goes, oh, really, Dennis? I said, come on. We got to get my team going here. We're dead. So I got the upper hand on him a little bit, and I think he was ticked about the timing of it all, and I get it. I totally understand it. Bushy's a heck of a guy, great guy, and he was waiting for me when I came back into Wilkes-Barre. I was in Hershey. I knew he was, so I'd be just going to step out on the board, and he'd be looking at the end trying to see if I'm coming out, right? So we come out on the face-off. He's just going to go, and we fought. So we were going, and we went for a little bit. And then I asked him, "You done?" He goes, "No, not yet." And he said that about 3 or 4 times. He wanted to keep going. So, and he was like that. I'd scrapped him lots, and there was a lot of all of them were always over a minute, I guess.
It's staggeringly long for me. So when you look back at all the penalty minutes you've racked up and everything you've done, what are you most proud of?
Hopefully to say that I was a good teammate. I stuck up for guys. I took things personally. Things happened to my teammates. I took them personally. I didn't let anyone get taken advantage of. But at the end of the day, like when I got called up to Edmonton, I had 13 goals in 35 games. When I got called up to Pittsburgh, I had 26 points in 29 games. When I get an opportunity to play a little bit, I could play and put up some points and and still do my job, which is play rough and tough and protect my teammates. So, but I think just to say, hopefully that I was, a good teammate, and I did my job, and I made sure everyone felt comfortable in their skates and felt comfortable on and off the ice as a teammate.
I want to ask you 2 quick questions, and one is about your first NHL goal. I guess we should also call it your last NHL goal.
Yeah.
It scored on Chris Osgood.
Yeah.
Can you take me through this?
I was actually on a line change again. I guess that's when I do my best work, when I catch them changing. I don't know. And I come down the wing, and I had slap shot down the wing, and it kind of dipped on him 5-hole. And I went by him and I'm like, man, you should retire. I can't believe I scored a goal on you. Like, this shouldn't happen. And then Benny Hogue come up to me, he goes, what's wrong? I said, I never scored in the National Hockey League. I never thought I would. You know what I mean? It was getting to the point where I was like, not playing a lot sometimes. If I get in, I get a few shifts. So, your opportunity of creating much offense is pretty limited. But so he was laughing and giggling. And then I think I went out next shift and I fought Eric Cairns to get back to what I do best. He's a good friend of mine.
We have one picture. I think it's Ellen Nasruddin, although I'm not 100% sure. It shows how you didn't care what size that individual was, and you are staring up at him. I think we have it. I'm not sure, but just the size difference. Like, you're like,
that's Nazarov.
Oh, right. Alexei Nazarov.
Yeah. I got, there's a little something there because when I came in, he was with me as a teammate, and then they traded him to Arizona, and then he came in a few weeks later. So I think he was kind of ticked at me or whoever the organization. So that was happening no matter what. And so we scrapped. I think he thought that maybe I came in and took his job, which wasn't really the case because I didn't have a job either, It's
a great picture.
Yeah.
Then the other one is you did take a couple pops. There's this one photo. It's you. I'm not sure who you're fighting. That one.
Colton Orr, I think.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Oh, it is Colton Orr, yeah.
He didn't hit me. Colton was tough. Colton and I had a few beauties. Yeah, he was a tough nut.
Yeah.
We fought a lot, maybe 5 or 6 times.
You fought them all. The card is impressive. Dennis, I appreciate your time. Like, it's really something to have watched what you've been able to do.
I got to ask you before you go, Bonzai. Everybody listening always wants to know if you could, you don't have to rank them in order from your era, maybe your top three guys. You'd say those 3 guys are pretty tough guys.
Yorkie, there's probably not a top 3. It might be a top 10. And when you do that, you're forgetting guys, but
yeah, it's tough.
And I'll say who they were, I think, at the end of the day, but they're all the ones you think. But at the end of the day, I got to represent where I played the most in the American Hockey League, and there was guys that were as tough as they come, no doubt. Yeah. I played them and I fought them, and they just didn't get an opportunity for one reason or other. Kind of like maybe I was a little bit. You're not in the right spot, And when guys get in the right spot, the right person behind you that wants toughness, you get an opportunity and you stay around, which is credit to them. But toughest, Proby was the toughest. Tony Twist, Ty Domi, fought Gino a lot. Gratz in the new era, Colton Orr, Eric Goddard was as tough as they come. Razor was as tough as they come. There was lots of guys. I don't want to forget anybody either.
Yeah.
I fought Paul Louse a lot, who was really tough. People didn't know how tough he was. Stu Grimson.
I played junior with Louser. Really underrated, tough guy.
Oh, a big right hand. You had to be careful. Stu Grimson. Geez, I'm forgetting. Matty Johnson was tough. Yeah. Like you can go on and on. Bugard, God rest his soul. I never played him, but he was tough.
Vandenbush always surprised me because he wasn't that big, right?
He was the toughest pound for pound, right? And he took a bunch, but he gave a bunch. And good man, Vandy, really good man.
You put Peter Worrell into the bench in Boston.
Yeah. Peter was tough. I don't know if he'd love to do it, but he did it. He's big man. George the Rock was very tough. I didn't mean to leave out George. Very tough, so tough as they come. So strong. So it goes on. Every team had him. Jimmy McKenzie's as tough as they come. He fought them all. Maybe he should be up there with all the big boys. He was a dear friend of mine. So tough.
Hey, I played with him in Nashville, Bonzai. I actually thought like he would let up because he was so strong, and he'd have a guy like a smaller guy. He'd be like, all right, we're done here.
Both hands. And Jimmy's up with the big boys all the time, man. He was as tough as they come. Yeah, and I'm forgetting my dearest friend, Dave Brown. He is probably the toughest.
Right.
Joey
what about Brad Brown?
Brad Brown, good friend of Brown. Brownie, I played with him in North Bay. I helped him out in terms of, getting him going. He wasn't the strongest guy, but boy, he could scrap. Great person, Brownie.
Brownie, loyal listener to the pod, boys. He listens every day. He lives in Ottawa.
He's a good man.
Lives in Ottawa right now.
I just talked to him a few days ago. Yeah, I'm glad you brought him up because he's a good friend.
Massive head, huge pumpkin.
Yeah,
walks his dog by my house. I just tell him to stay out of my neighborhood.
Brownie was tough. Yeah. Brownie was tough. You could fire him.
So, Dennis, before we go, an apology from Yorkie and I, who thought, oh, no, Yorkie had your team making the playoffs with the Boston Bruins. I thought maybe you might not be that good this year. I completely apologize. I misread it, and I'm sorry.
You don't have not much faith in the Bruins and the pro scouting, huh?
Oh, my Lord. You guys are just a wagon.
I got to give a shot for the pro scouting. No.
Yeah.
We've had a really good start. Our goalies have been great. Our defense are pretty good. And our leaders and our best players have been our best players. And when you have that, then you give yourself a chance. We give ourselves a chance. Last couple of games have been kind of off. So hopefully we get back on track. But, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. I was fortunate enough. I started with Toronto for a year. And then I went 6 years in Chicago. We won 3 cups. Now I went over with Cam Neely and Don Sweeney and the Boston Bruins. And it's an honor to work for some really good teams and work in the National Hockey League still and be a part of it in some small way. I am fortunate. I pinched myself, and hopefully it continues.
Bonzai, what's the secret there, though? I know, is it just the culture is so good in Boston? Because you look at the turnover you guys have had. Like, a lot of people were counting Boston out. Like, what if you could put your finger on one thing, what is it?
Yeah, it's the culture. It's the culture. Like, Z did that. You can go way back and who did it, and Z was good, and Bergeron was the best. Both of them were the best, and Marshy's taken that, and then Charlie McAvoy and David Pastrnak. Like you can go on, and I don't mean to leave anybody out. That's just they just continue to push the pace every day in practice. They demand you to be better. There's no need for being average. Like we're going to push it to be the best, and they make everybody be accountable. And I think that's the biggest thing, right?
Yeah.
So, and that's what I've known. And I worked in Chicago for 6 years, and we had Taves and Kane and Duncan Keith and Seabrook. Like, when those guys are driving the ship every night, like, you're in a good spot. And we did that.
I could ask you for hours questions about playing and how things have gone. So, but I'll let you go. I told you we'd be a half hour, and it's a little bit longer.
It's all good.
We always go over.
I appreciate you guys thinking of me and having me on. I hope anytime at all. Anytime at all. It's nice to talk.
Congrats on the Hall of Fame. That's huge, and I'm really proud of you, sir. Really,
I appreciate it, guys. You've all had great careers, and we're pretty fortunate, all of us, still be around the game doing what we love.
Absolutely. All right, Dennis. Take care, my friend. We'll talk soon.
Guys, I appreciate it.
Thanks, Bonzai.
There goes the Bonzai.
That was awesome just to listen to, wasn't it, for me? I mean, different kind of player than we've had on in the past for questions from a guy like me, but it's just awesome to hear guys like that talk. You see his hands? Unbelievable.
You know what you should do? You should tell people now who don't know you, perhaps from your just I was a huge tough guy. Look at my hands. I fought everybody.
Like this. Yeah.
Hands are a mess.
That was crazy. It was awesome. Yeah. What a great guest, though.
Yeah.
I would say that era that Dennis, we'll call him Dennis like his mom did. I love that. Only my mom calls me Dennis. Unless it's Stu Grimson looking for a fight. Yeah. There were so many, I call them like ultra heavyweights, of guys that can fight and are massive. Like Tony Twist. Like, anybody listening and watching right now, pull up some videos of Tony Twist fighting. Like, it's scary. Like, this guy, it's like
fearless.
Fearless. And if that shirt came off, like when he came on the ice, I would just get out of the way.
Yeah.
He's coming on the floor.
He's Darren Detition's brother-in-law, I think. There's a relationship there between Darren Detition, who's who's still a TSM SportsCenter host. Back in the day, though, before, like, there was cell phones, but not really. Anyway, he would call the press box in Ottawa and ask if Tony was playing. He'd be like, Brent, you got to call in the press box. I'm like, what? Hey, it's Darren. Is Tony Twist playing tonight? It's like, yes, he's playing. He just wanted to know. Anyway, Tony Twist has got some great stories too. I would love to have a show someday of just like 3 notable tough guys from that era, just to sit down and chat about the nonsense that went on. But we'll move on. And that is to tonight's game, which is between the Kachucks, if you will. So before we do that, we've also got Lock of the Day coming up. But as always, just like to bring in Mark Alangelo's, one of our new partners and friends of the show. Mark Alangelo's Roofing and Insulation, owners Mark and Nick, huge supporters of men's mental health. And so you've got a few days left. They are donating this month proceeds from insulation booking. So if you book an insulation job between now and the end of the month, they will donate proceeds to the Movember movement. The jobs can be completed before of October of next year. Included with the booking, assessment of your home's ventilation system to ensure the new insulation with the new insulation, your home is warm and cozy this winter season, as well as keeping heating costs down and making your home more energy efficient. Do you know improper attic ventilation can affect the health of your home and people who live there? Contact them today, marcolangelos.com, or use the telephone 613-833-0001. Marcolangelo's Roofing and Insulation, every detail covered. And of course, guys, coming up, it is Christmas, as you know. Charm Diamond Centers. This is the place to go. Proudly Canadian owned and operated since 1972 with more than 85 locations across the country through Charm and their sister brands. Get custom ring building delivered in less than 4 weeks with the Charm Masterpiece program and an unbeatable pricing policy. Holidays are coming up. It's the perfect time to check out a large selection of Canadian lab-grown diamonds, mined diamonds, and don't pay until 2025 with their instant in-store financing. Charm Diamond Centers is giving you a chance to win a $5,000 gift card. Become a champion with their propose. How would you propose? One knee, the bend and snap. Tag Charm Diamonds on Instagram and post us in a post or a story with video or photo of your propose. Be sure to use a hashtag the propose to be entered. For more information, go to charmdiamondcenters.com. Okay. Tkachuk versus, listen, this is the 19th game, I believe, between the two brothers. So for me, it doesn't have, I know the family's in town. It's just another game to me. Do you guys see it much differently? Matthew with the edge and points, just the records are roughly the same by a point.
Do we see it as just a regular game, or is like the
is,
whole Tkachuk versus Tkachuk thing? They've played each other enough right now. I just think to me, it's more of Ottawa's at a point right now in the season where the storyline for me is more. These are turning into almost must wins right now, just because of the separation that's happening in the standings right now. I think that's more of the storyline for me. Like this team needs to get busy in a hurry, and I know. Friday night, weird game. Probably could have used a few saves here and there, and just one of those dull games. Not that they played terribly; it was just
a dull.
You gotta figure. And people will say, "Well, that's what happens when you come back from a long trip in Europe." Well, Detroit didn't have a problem. They won their first game back, so you can throw that excuse out the window. The time is now to start going. Like the guys got to step up and figure it out. And the whole storyline, it's not really an issue for any ask those two guys. They're not thinking about it. Like I'm sure they're happy after the game. They'll see each other and say hi, and they'll probably meet up last night. They probably met up
last night. Yep,
for dinner and did all that stuff. But it's at the professional level. It's just. Been being the captain, Brady's going to know how the significance of this game. The games are getting more and more important because the Senators are now starting to put themselves in a position where these are must-win games.
Yeah, I think the storyline shifted for me. It's been 20 games almost for them to play head-to-head at this point. So I think every game that they play, and now that they're in the same division, that kind of fades a little bit more for me. And you just get to work. And like you said, I would not agree more with anything that you just said. I think the team has to know that these are all becoming must-win games. The separation. What did we say? That 20 to 20 something game mark is where things start to settle, and that's what's happening. And they're quickly finding themselves below the threshold of where you need to be.
And it should be noted that Ottawa has played the fewest games of any team in the National Hockey League, 16 games. Like Tampa's played 21. However, like Detroit's played one more game, and they're in a playoff spot, if I'm not mistaken. Plus the schedule, Ottawa's playing its 13th home game tonight, which includes, I know, the two wonky games in Sweden, but hey, they won both those, so we can still count them as home games. They've got to find a way to generate something here.
Yeah. What's concerning for me, guys, is you see Philadelphia is up in a playoff position, and you've got teams like Detroit up there. Because I know full well teams like New Jersey and Carolina are going to start playing better. Especially
New Jersey's lost 6 of 7.
Well, in Carolina, I had Carolina. Like Carolina's going to figure it out, and not only do you have to keep pace or play better than the teams that are in the top 8 right now. It's those other teams that are in positions too, where you know they're going to get better. So I don't like this. I don't like the position the Senators in right now. I was a little more bullish on them.
Yeah,
but you got to take care of business. And December, we all know this. Everybody in the city knows it. This follows the team. December is going to be very, very tough. So these games where you're not playing that often right now, you got to win them.
They play 30 games in the next 2 months, and then they have their bye week. So 30 games, 62 days, I think it is.
Yeah, and
that's tough.
Yeah, it's tough. And I was looking at numbers, like, my God, Forsberg's got to figure it out.
Yeah,
he's got to figure it out.
So Anton Forsberg, as of this morning, and I don't know that he's going to start tonight. Korpisalo did skate yesterday. They have it's optional today. So, but Anton Forsberg, by the way, happy 31st birthday. I believe it is today. Of all goaltenders to have played 5 games or more, he has the worst save percentage.
Yeah.
Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Now we're just going to give you the nail gun.
Yeah.
Oh,
so I felt a little guilty saying that, but
yeah,
that's a concern.
Wally.
Like goaltending is become a concern.
Yes.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. He's got to. I don't know what the recipe is. I don't know if you sit him to the bench for a little bit of period of time to make him really get back to basics and watch Korpisalo take the reins for a minute, because you do have that luxury of a little bit of time, next week and a half, whatever it might be, before it gets real busy. Might be the idea, but you can't keep. Why would you go back to him? You can't.
Yeah. What's the stat? How is Korpisalo's health right now? What's his status right now, Wally?
He was on the ice yesterday, so they said it was just a day off the day before. Like, I suspect he's going to start, only based on the way Forsberg's record is. However, Anton Forsberg hasn't played any time on the road. All his games have been at home. Now, that includes Sweden. Everything gets ruined because of this whole Sweden trip, but all his games are registered as home games right now.
You know what, though? Might not be a bad thing for him to get on the road. Get away from everything at home and just get to work.
Yep.
Yeah. So, for me,
it's tough.
Korpisalo has to be your guy though tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah. But what if he's not ready to go? If he wasn't ready to go, I would throw Sogard in there.
Well, they sent Sogard down yesterday.
Okay, so obviously,
maybe not.
They did, but it would be a hell of a message, wouldn't it, to Forsberg?
Do you want to send it?
Yeah, you're last in the league. You got how long you let it go? I'm not saying that to be rude, how long do you let it go though before you start to say, hey, we have other options? And even if you're not comfortable with the other options, you need to kick guys.
Okay, but if Matt Sogard goes in and were to lay an egg, then aren't all the fans going to be, what is DJ doing? We have Anton Forsberg, put him in there.
Yeah,
I feel like no matter what, fans are going to say, what is DJ doing?
But look at it the other way. If it works, then you're like,
yes,
what I did.
That's a genius.
But then you've created an issue, have you not?
Yeah,
really, there's no issue. The issue is if you got to win games.
So
that's the issue. So and when some of those, and I hate dumping on guys, and I'm a big Forsberg guy. Like I love what he did coming back. I thought he was going to have a great year this year, and hopefully he can still figure it out. And there still is time for him to figure it out, but it's unfortunately the NHL is a results-oriented business, and your goaltender, like we always say, show me a goaltender that's playing well, and I'll show you a team that's winning. And right now they're just not getting timely saves at the right time, and teams they're playing against are. And that's not the only reason they're winning. They're still making mistakes in their own zone. Like you look at that last game, there's that one goal in particular off the face-off where there's 2 guys left in front of the net and guys are puck watching. But the other teams just seem to get timely saves, and Ottawa's just not getting there right now. So I hope he figures it out, because he's got, from everything I've heard, hard worker, great guy, and those are the types of guys you root for. But like I said, it's a results-oriented business, and they need wins.
I don't know anything about the player, but everything that I hear is extremely positive. So you kind of want to root for guys like that.
Yeah.
So and this is where I think fans I want them to understand. I'm not singling a player out. I want Anton Forsberg to take the reins and be a very, very good goaltender the rest of the way.
Too.
But we do have an obligation to point it out when it's like that. So that's all I'm trying to say. I'm not dumping on a guy. I don't want to dump on a guy's birthday. I'm always going to side with the player. But at a certain point, you have to make a change. Maybe the change is just a kick in the teeth. And it's we're going to dress Sogard in front of you. Maybe it's, hey, you're not going to play until we feel like you're back to basics.
So let me put it to you this way, because you're in the room. Well, let's just say you're in the room currently at the time, both of you. Team doesn't play well defensively. And so not every goal is Anton Forsberg's fault. They could use a save occasionally here and there on certain goals.
Yeah.
But is it, if they don't dress him, is it a message to him and not to the players? Like, do the players, and we go back to accountability. So I don't even know why I'm in this conversation, but at what point is it the guys in front need to be better? Like, this isn't all on Anton Forsberg.
No, he got hung out to dry a few times. But what we do say is, Craig Anderson said it best, every goal is still a goalie's fault because you only have one job. That is it.
Andy.
I love Andy, but he would say that consistently. He said every goal is a goaltender's fault. So, say it however you want. But that I would agree with you, Wally, that if they dress Sogard and put him on the bench for whatever reason it might be, it's a message more to Forsberg than the guys in front of him.
Yeah. At the end of the day, he's got an 850 save percentage right now.
Yes.
So you can't have that at the National Hockey League level and win games. And it is a fact. And I hope he figures it out. Cause like I said, I love players that work and they're grindy and they battle and their path hasn't been easy to get to where they are, because I can relate to that. So I hope he figures it out. And if once he gets back in there, that's part of the grind to be in the NHL. You're going to have ups and downs. It's when you knock down, do you get back up, and what do you do with it? So far from over, but I'm just saying 850, not good enough.
So to be bad to point out that his is worse than Jack Campbell's.
That's not even, that's yes. Now everything I said, just trying to build rapport with the fans, you just totaled. Thank you for that. That's well done.
By the way, Jack Campbell's save percentage apparently is worse in the AHL.
Yeah.
What happened? He had a shutout the other day, didn't he?
Yes, but it was still worse, I think.
He got shelled his first game in or second game in. Yeah. I remember seeing that.
But it could be in Carolina, allow 8 goals on 14 shots.
Oh, Bob, you've played in Anaheim, you've played in Ottawa, and I always say this, it's especially for goaltenders, it's such a different animal playing in a Canadian market. Like like some goalies, it's so tough mentally on you. Like it's a totally different animal.
It really, I couldn't imagine the pressure of being a goaltender in a Canadians. I really couldn't. I can fathom it because I can understand what it's like just being a player, but at the same time, I wouldn't take that on.
Well, it sticks with you all the time. And I don't care what people say. Like you leave the rink in Anaheim, you actually do forget about things because nobody talks about it. Yeah. Here, it's everywhere you go. So it takes a very special person to be able to thrive in this kind of environment. It really does.
Imagine the difference between playing in Anaheim where you can leave and go surf all afternoon, or your drive home has to be TSN 1200 because you want to know how bad things are. That's how it was.
Or you could listen to Wally saying Jack Campbell, his percentage is better.
Listen, I'm just trying to be factually correct. That's all I'm trying to do.
He's just crapping on a guy on his birthday, for God's sake.
Yeah. By the way, time for lock of the day, because they'll play Florida tonight, who have been, I think, better than a lot of people also predicted, perhaps, at 12-7-1. So the Tkachuk brothers come in, all that stuff. I'm going to go with Yorkie to start.
I'm not going first. I'm going last. You're in first place here. You're in first place. You go first.
Okay. This one's a tough one for me. I think Florida's playing much better. Ottawa can pull it out if they can get goaltending. I don't know that they get the goaltending. You know what? I'm going to go Ottawa. A 4-3 game.
There's a guy that's playing with some house money.
Need to win the fans back.
Yeah, get them back. I'll let Yorkie go last because I'm the exact opposite. I saw a tweet yesterday. I don't know who tweeted it. You know how those things pop up when they're kind of pushed to your feed or whatever. But it was talking about Florida and just how good they are and how they just find ways to win.
Yes.
And it came with a clip or something. I can't remember, but I watched it and then realized that's who Ottawa was playing. And so I'm just going off of the social media tweet that I saw about them finding ways to win.
Well, they've dominated Ottawa. Like,
Yeah.
8-2 in their last 10 against Ottawa. It's just they've got huge numbers against the Sens. And Ottawa's last 10 at home versus Florida is 3-6-1.
It's tough. It's tough.
Yeah,
so.
looking. Barkov is back playing again, man. He's such an underrated player. Like for tough. Like, Bob, how was he to play against Barkov?
Unbelievably hard to play against because he could play any game you wanted to play. If your line was going and they had home ice advantage, he was playing against your best line every night. And he was putting up points he's just hard to, he just commands so much space down the middle of the ice, but he's so tricky as well. Because he doesn't know what he's doing. So if he doesn't know, you don't know. He's just good with his hands. And then he had no problem with his size, being able to put guys on his back too. Like he's got every dimension of the game. So I liken him a lot like a younger Anze Kopitar. I think they're both very, very good players. And Barkov was up there for me.
Look at Huberdeau since he's no longer with Barkov.
Crazy, isn't it?
Like,
He's one of the worst plus minuses in the league, if I'm not mistaken.
Huberdeau?
Yeah.
Look what he's making. He had the biggest production drop. Wasn't it the biggest in the history from 100 points down to whatever he had, 45 or 50 with Calgary? And just it's crazy how much certain players make guys around them so much better. Yeah. So this I'm just singing Barkov's praises here. Man, Ottawa really has to win this game right now. Florida is in a playoff spot. Boy, at home game. I'm going to go with Ottawa. I just think it's desperate times right now. You just lost to New York. Korpisalo is going to be back in. He's going to have a huge game. I think Ottawa figures it out and wins this game.
I love this. Johnson. This is a chance for me to close the gap.
Yep, you can get back in here.
Yeah. Or just continue to shoot myself in the foot.
But yeah, like, do we think that Florida loses 3 in a row? Maybe, but neither team has played, I think, since Friday. So it's not like there's back-to-backs or any of that stuff. So you're taking Florida, Bobby.
I'm taking Florida. Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
That's not going to win us many fans.
Hey, I just tell them that the lock of the day should be separate from the rest of the podcast because
I know it should be.
This is gambling.
People don't see it that way. They're very upset. So I just called you a fraud in the chat.
Ouch. All right. Ouch.
All right, gentlemen. We'll be back tomorrow to talk about the Florida game and how it went that Ottawa won that game in convincing fashion.
Yes.
But until then, we'll all meet later for Anton Forsberg's birthday lunch.
Oh, yeah. He's not happy with you. He's not happy with you, Wally.
All right, guys. Have a great afternoon. We'll see you, everybody, tomorrow.
See you guys tomorrow.
Coming in Hot is brought to you by Botano.ca. Please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel to never miss an episode.